Welcome to the Tuesday Podcast, where every episode is a journey into intriguing stories and thought-provoking discussions, with a dash of Tuesday wisdom thrown in. I'm your host, Nino, and I'm here with
Tomas
and
Katya.
and I hope you enjoy. Today's topic is horror movies, and my name is Nino.
I'm Tomas.
Katya.
To start out our episode, I guess we could say, what does the horror movie genre mean to you?
To me, it means a lot. I really like horror movies. My favorite one, I would say, is Halloween.
It's good choice. The horror genre has a specific, personal connection, I guess you could say. Because when I was a kid, my mom loved horror movies, and she still does, and she would always show them to me, even though sometimes I would get scared and sometimes I wouldn't. And also, me being born on Friday the 13th is also helping into that, which is coming up on a Friday as well. So yeah, the horror genre has always been important to me, I guess you could say.
I didn't really grow up on them. I was always too scared, but after a while I grew up, so I love them now. Halloween in general, the horror aspect is just great.
I also grew up with my mom introducing me to horror as I was younger. For Christmas, when I was 4 years old, they bought me a Chucky doll. And I used to carry it around everywhere. And then they would buy me little figurines, and I had a whole collection. I had Texas, Leatherface. I had Freddy Krueger. Pretty sure when I was younger, I was never a princess in something. I remember being Leatherface. I remember being something scary.
What specific movies have you guys remembered from, early childhood, or even when you started to get into the genre?
For me, it was always movies early childhood. It'd have to be Paranormal Activity, stuff like that. My family wasn't huge into horror movies. They kind of just didn't get on it, but
I would say Child's Play or Halloween, like I said.
For me, it was either the Friday the 13th franchise or Scream. Those have always been my favorite movie series from when I was younger. I don't know, I never really got into Child's Play. I was never much of a fan. I thought it was kind of weird.
When I was younger, any scary movie, there's an old one, it's called The Puppet Master.
Oh.
I used to watch that too. I used to love it. And then there's very other dolls movies. I used to always watch it.
Any reason? Or just
No, I don't know. Maybe when I was younger, that just the dolls, come alive and kill people.
That seems to be a running theme in certain horror movies, and I guess you could say that same thing for Annabelle, I guess.
Yeah.
But I guess we could also think about horror movies that have a specific feeling to you. You could watch it all the time and never get sick of it. So I guess for you it'd be Halloween, right?
Yeah.
And just thinking about it, I'm I remember that watching this with my mom or something all the time, and I just feel when you just talk about that, people think oh, really, a horror movie? So I don't know, how do you feel that horror movies get that weird treatment from people?
People are usually scared. I'm not gonna lie, I sound crazy saying this, but I laugh. I would laugh.
Sometimes, yeah, I get that too. What about you, Tomas?
Some funny bad horror movies out there.
Yeah, that's for sure. I guess thinking about those old horror movies, how do you feel that older horror movies compared to newer horror movies that, released in the last 10 years, I guess you could say?
I would say that the old ones are better, in my opinion. They are scarier. And then everything's not so computerized. They did it.
I agree. I feel computer generated stuff has really strongly affected the horror genre, as everything doesn't feel as real, real, I guess, in simple terms. Like when you see behind the scenes of older movies, they're like, oh, this guy got hit by a car. That was a real person. Or how are we gonna figure out how to get this axe into somebody's head without, using a real person? And just think like how they really thought about going through these processes to make these practical effects and make them look real. I really think is an underappreciated thing nowadays, with how little directors of any genre use practical effects anymore. But of course, that's just my opinion.
I would also say that the costumes and makeup were better.
Definitely, I agree. Tomas, how do you feel about the loss of the art of practical effects?
I definitely feel the old ones are better. That's for sure. Just felt more real,
Yeah.
You could just, I don't know, there's just more effort into it.
I definitely agree. I agree. And like seeing it seems like back then they really cared, Like nowadays it seems like sometimes they don't care about the product. They just care about making money. And, with all like brand new sequels, I guess you can kind of say that with the newer Halloween sequels, even though I enjoyed them. Sometimes, people would say like, oh, it seems like they just did it for a cash grab, which reasonably, probably. But I don't know. That's just how I personally feel about it. I guess that could lead into how do you feel about those newer Halloween sequels and how they compare to the original series?
I'm gonna be honest, like now they're boring to me. Like I'll fall asleep. I have to watch an old one in order to be awake and enjoy it.
That's an interesting point to think about. Like eating into our old versus new, how even if people say they're cheesy, like specifically slasher films, which have always been my favorite, they still like get your attention, like no matter what, even though if you know what's gonna happen, they still kind of find a way to surprise you. That's why I always liked Scream. Scream was that joke on the slasher horror genre, and even though they say exactly what's gonna happen, it's still surprising to me. And also, it's just probably one of the funniest horror movies, at least in my opinion. How about we discuss some of the upcoming horror movies in the upcoming month? I say the biggest one.
The Exorcist just came out, the new one.
That's correct. Have you seen it?
No.
No?
I was supposed to.
What happened?
I had other stuff to do, so.
No.
I mean, I seen the new Saw movie too. I seen that one.
Oh yeah, that did come out.
Yeah.
I actually heard it was pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It was like there was a crazy plot twist. That's all I have to say.
When isn't there?
Like I was like, what?
I'd say like the most. Well, I guess to a certain group of people, the biggest one right now that's coming out is the Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
Oh yeah.
Which is coming out the 28th or something.
The 27th.
27th, yes. Which personally, I'm probably gonna go watch it. I think it's shaping up to be faithful, I guess you could say, to the original story because of how closely tied the creator was and how he was like, I want this to be perfect. I don't want this to be like an offshoot crap just for Crash Gab, as technically it's his final project with the story because he's been retired now for I think a year or two. I think so.
I don't know. I'm personally not a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, but I do want to see the movie.
What about you, Tomas? How do you feel about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie?
I'm definitely gonna watch it, but I'm also not huge into it, but I definitely do like the series.
Yeah, I think especially because there's been talks about it for years now.
Yeah.
And seeing it finally release and how good it looks, you know, for some people saying it's something stupid. I don't know. I just feel that it's the most anticipated horror movie this year. I definitely think that's, you know, true. Next to like New Exorcist or
Yeah, that's
Saw.
the one I'm like, I have to go see it.
My mom's probably gonna want to watch that, knowing her. But I mean, it's gonna make a lot of money. That's what really matters, I guess. But thinking about other horror movies coming out, how do you feel that the direction of new horror movies are going into 2024? You know, like not like complete, like not thinking about the old, you know, old style, thinking, you know, generally, you know, about new style horror movies. Do you feel that the horror genre will excel or drop?
I mean, it will if they keep continuing like the same stories, basically, because that's what they keep doing. It's just evolving, basically. And they are. In 2024, I saw that a lot of new like ones are coming out.
Tomas, how do you feel that horror movie trajectories are going?
But at some point, they're gonna have to stop what they're doing and just kind of revert back to the.
You think so?
To the originals, because can't continue the same trend of reviving that genre.
That's true. That's true.
Eventually, it just won't sell.
Yeah.
You need to make something new.
Yeah,
At least
something
start
new.
something new.
Start something new.
Because like, what we're on saw like X, and then like
Yes.
Halloween, like they kept going too.
Yeah.
Like Scream too, kind of like.
Scream, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you continue that series
Yeah.
for so long.
Yeah, I haven't. Speaking of Scream, I actually haven't seen the 6, right?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I saw 5 in theaters when that released. I don't know. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great.
The 6th one wasn't bad either. It's just like I thought they were dead.
Yeah, that it ended a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it was super surprising to think about, like, oh, they're making a 5th one. But then I'm like, Saw 4 came out like 10 years ago. You know, like, because Saw 5 came out, or not Saw, sorry, Scream 5. Was that 2020? 2019? Something
I
like that?
remember the date.
Yeah, it came out, you know, around that time, and to think that Saw 4, sorry, I don't know why I keep doing that, Scream 4 came out, if I remember correctly, 2011, as a love letter to Wes Craven, because, you know, I think that was the final thing he ever worked on before he passed away, which I thought was pretty good. But I don't know. Do you think that they're gonna do a?
If they keep going on, I'm sorry, but that's crazy. Like these people should have been dead already. Like I don't know
Story should
how.
have been ended.
Yeah.
Sorry, say yeah. And like when I saw the trailer for it, I think like, oh, they're trying something new, you know. But I feel like I'm noticing they're taking the older approach of later sequels of horror movies. Like in Scream 6, they went to New York. Jason Takes Manhattan was number 8 or number 7. And to think about that and how much that was like, what is this movie? Like, people would think this is stupid because I guess by the end it became more of a comedy until they started to take themselves seriously at like X, and then, you know, the whole thing blew up. But I feel like I don't know where they could even go. I definitely think that they should have ended at 4.
I think so too.
As like a, you know, like a send off, you know, but I don't know. But this is coming from somebody who loves the Scream franchise, so it's kind of like hard for me to think about like things I don't like about it. Well, actually, there's one glaring thing I don't like about it. It's Scream 3. I hate that movie. It was that I think that is the worst installment in the franchise. I don't know.
Why is that?
Because in the movie, the Scream Killer has this all-around voice changer that you can just change to anybody's voice perfectly without any mistakes, and it's so stupid. It's
Definitely sounds.
I don't know. I say after the second one, I was just kind of like, oh, again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. Although like Scream 1 like changed it, it changed everything. I definitely think that without Scream, horror movies wouldn't have like evolved. Even though some people are already tired of the self-conscious horror protagonist stories, because
Yeah. I was gonna ask, what is your guys' favorite like non-slasher horror movie?
ooh, that's a good one. Non-slasher horror movie.
Yeah, because there's a lot of ghosts. There's other like they do other things.
That's actually a good question.
I mean, I like the Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh,
was pretty
oh
good.
boy.
I love it. I don't know why. It's so like it's stupid, but like I love it. You're using these guns to turn people into cotton candy and eat them. Yeah, love it.
Oh man, that's such like a classic. It's
Yeah.
it's bad.
It's bad.
But it's like good bad.
It's good, yeah.
It's like dumb fun bad where you just can't help but laugh at it, even though admittedly it's horrifying to think about. But if I were to think like a good non-slasher horror movie, for me it's between 28 Days Later and The Mist. If you've ever seen those movies.
I've seen 28 Days Later. But not those.
28 Days Later is an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, I definitely say you should watch it. Hearing like behind the scenes of that, like how all the hoops they had to jump through just to make that movie, I think I remember the director saying he didn't want the movie to look high quality, so they filmed the whole movie on like a handheld video camera, so it would look dingy and like handheld, old and stuff, which is crazy dedication from the director, and like all the restrictions they had to do when filming in London. They're like, hey, you have this 10-minute period, film what you need, and it was perfect that they used that small camera because they didn't have to set any lights up, anything, any tripods, because they already just had it ready to go. But I definitely think that 20 Days Later is a very influential film. But Tomas, what do you have your favorite non-slasher horror movie?
I don't know. I think I like the It series, and there's this other one, but I think the same person that it's like they walk into just a field, and they get trapped there. I forgot what the name is though. And it's so good the way they play it out, but
The only horror movie that I think about with a field is Signs, but the aliens,
Yeah,
Which-
that's what I think about too.
which is also a good movie.
it's just the field. They get trapped in there. They slowly go insane, and then one person just starts hunting down the rest of the group. But it all revolves around the field and how it
Okay.
messes with the
I would
group
say
and
the
time.
Poltergeist 2 is a good classic scare movie.
Oh, Poltergeist, yeah. I haven't seen many of the Poltergeist films. I don't know exactly how many there are. I've heard there's a few. But I think I've only seen like the first one. But
Yeah, I would say the first one.
yeah, the first one is definitely like, I guess for any series, seems like people say it's the best one. But that actually is a good start to another topic of, do you feel that horror movie sequels are so easily written off by people instead of watching it and comparing it and thinking about it instead of just, oh, the original was great. It's probably not gonna be as good. How do you feel about when people do stuff like that?
You probably write like a little bit extra and just let's copy off the same idea, add a new person, go for that.
Yeah.
It definitely is a bit easier for the director to just continue off what they already had, but it also isn't easy to just continue off a story that's basically ended.
Yeah. Which I guess is another point to the older horror movies are better of how like these directors are so like, oh, I killed them at the first one, but I can immediately bring them back and think about a new story.
Like, how? Like, we just saw them die and then they're back. I don't know.
That's kind of how I felt about like some of the Halloween movies. Of course, 1 and 2 are the best ones, but he just disappears at the end. No death. Thought he was dead. Gone.
Yeah.
Comes back again. Same idea, different location, and different circumstance. Which, it's Michael Myers. How could people get tired of Michael Myers, as probably the most well-known horror slasher killer, At least that's what I think, next to like Freddy Krueger and Jason. Your favorite horror slasher, and like why they stand out to you, like more than the others.
I would say Michael Myers because when I was younger, like I would always watch it. That was the one I would like always watch. We had like my uncle wearing the mask too. I remember like I just loved it. I loved it. And then Rob Zombie's Halloween, I enjoy that one too, like a lot.
Well, seeing as we're running short on time, I feel like this is a good place to wrap up our discussion. I hope you enjoyed our Tuesday podcast about horror movies and all things of the genre. Once again, I am Nino.
Tomas.
Katya.
And I hope you enjoyed, and happy Halloween. Thanks for tuning in to the Tuesday podcast from Cowboy Nation News, your source for insightful discussions. In conjunction with the Detroit Creativity Project, we encourage you to explore your creative side and make a positive impact in your community. Till next Tuesday, this is Nino, signing off.